I saw this documentary on YouTube last night about the government using mind control.
Sounds interesting. What did it say about it?
It said that they have advanced technology and that they can beam out radio waves that can control people's thoughts.
Do you think that's true?
It sounds a bit far-fetched to me. I don't think anyone's controlling my thoughts.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I am. Why? What do you mean?
The government have been controlling people's thoughts by beaming out radio waves since the first radio station went on the air.
Sure, there's always been propaganda. But that's not the same as mind control.
Well, to start with, let me explain how mind control actually works. There are 5 main methods that can be used to influence others psychologically. These are peer pressure, repetition, causing fear, causing confusion, and suggestion. These techniques are used by hypnotists and corporate government alike.
Corporate government?
Yes. Government and corporations are the same organization. You need to understand this in order to understand that mind control is very real.
What do you mean?
A small number of big corporations own a disproportionately large amount of industry. Industry funds everything, from advertising to political parties. Corporations run the media, and they own the government. This means that they have much influence over the information you receive. It is easy for large corporations to push an agenda if they wish to do so.
And they use hypnotism?
Well-known psychological techniques are used, yes. Principally, the 5 I mentioned. Using these methods, corporate powers persuade populations to buy certain products, to vote in certain leaders, to go to war, to consent to new laws, to distrust dissenters, to accept inequality, and many more things besides.
How do they use peer pressure? I thought people like to stand out from the crowd.
At a conscious level, people like to stand out if there is some positive reward to be gained. But most of the time, people like to feel they are accepted by others. Peer pressure is a very strong influence. For an example of how strong it can be, video search, the Ash conformity experiment.
So how does the corporate government use peer pressure?
Simply to give an official view of an event, a viewpoint, a value, or a belief, and depict it as the norm. This is then confirmed, using repetition.
You mean, you repeat something enough, and people believe it?
Yes. And the more people that believe it, the less others will be inclined to question that belief.
And that's peer pressure again?
Yes.
How does suggestion work?
When the conscious mind is largely occupied with one train of thought, another piece of information can be conveyed, without its truth being questioned.
Okay. So how does this happen in practice then?
Advertising is a simple and obvious example. For instance, to sell a health supplement, an advert will depict an expert, who will say something like, "Most doctors agree that being unhealthy is bad." Already, you have fear of poor health, and the peer pressure of a professional expert group. Confusion is used when the expert uses scientific jargon to explain why this product is beneficial. Repetition of the product name is used throughout, as is suggestion. For example, the room gets lighter as an actor consumes the product. In reality, the expert is actually just an actor, and the product may have little real health benefit, but to the viewer it has been sanctioned by doctors and so is proven to improve health.
But that's selling. What about the other stuff? Like going to war?
Understand that wars are sold to us, just like products are. The motivation behind both is profit. Wars are not fought for principles. They are fought for resources and profit. Remember, corporations run government, and corporations are businesses. To sell a war to the public, first fear is created. Let's say fear of a terrorist threat.
But terrorism is a threat. Attacks have happened.
Yes, they have. But in reality, you are more likely to be killed by accidental poisoning, drowning in the bath, or accidentally suffocating in bed, than you are a terrorist. It is the fear that is important. Once a climate of fear is established, blame is apportioned to the target country. Through repetition, peer pressure from experts, and confusion generated by technical jargon, it is suggested that the target country is responsible. even though it may be blameless.
And then people think going to war is the right thing to do?
Yes. But the techniques don't stop there. Peer pressure is used again, by depicting those against the war as unpatriotic. A liberal press gives the impression of dissent, but does not question whether the target country is truly at fault. Remember, the corporations own the liberal press too. Those who are true dissenters are depicted as cranks on the fringes of sensible debate.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this works. So how much of what we think is controlled by corporate government?
Much more than most people even begin to realize. Those in power know that forcing people to behave in a certain way creates resistance. Instead, they get us to comply out of our own free will, because we act upon the information that we are given and how it is presented to us.
Are you saying I'm being controlled now?
Let me ask you some questions. Do you come to work for enjoyment, or for the money you earn?
Well, sometimes I enjoy it, but I need money to pay my rent.
And your rent goes to your landlord?
Yes. It pays for his mortgage.
And the bank lent him the money for the mortgage, which he must repay with interest. That bank borrowed the money it lent him from other banks, who borrowed it from the big financial corporations, and at every point, interest is charged. You are the one working to pay for all those interest charges, but are not able to borrow money to buy a house yourself. Is this fair? What do you do if you have a headache?
I take a painkiller.
You get rid of the pain, the symptom, but you do not get rid of what caused the headache. You are still ill. Pharmaceuticals are big business. The corporations want you to stay ill and to continue to buy their products. Do you vote for politicians that represent your beliefs?
Well, I vote for the one that comes closest.
You vote for one of a few political parties that stand any chance of getting into power. Only those parties that follow the corporate agenda receive funding to make this possible. Strictly speaking, you do not live in a democracy. These are just a few aspects of our lives that the majority accept without question. There are many more, and they all involve profit for the corporate government. It is less a conspiracy, and more the result of the drive for profit. That drive is far-reaching. For instance, movies whose message goes against the corporate agenda will find funding far harder to raise. Not because they are censored, but because the average moviegoer prefers the mainstream. Movies that offer dissent are less profitable and get less backing.
How did things reach this state of affairs?
Those who hold power will always try to influence others in order to maintain power. Social control has been around for a long time. Religious doctrine is probably the oldest form of it, and uses similar methods. Fear of punishment in the afterlife, confusing texts that require interpretation by an ordained official of the religion, repetition of the doctrine at a place of worship, peer pressure of having an official religion for one's country or community, and suggestion that those who do not adhere to the religious doctrine are degenerate or inferior. Over time, social controls become tradition and are pervasive throughout culture.
Pervasive? How so?
For example, at school you learn aspects of social control. You learn that you must get good grades to make money as an adult, and so learn that making money is the goal of your life. You learn that if you do not do what you are told, you will be punished. You learn that if you stand out from your classmates, you will be ridiculed or bullied. You learn that boys have short hair and girls wear dresses. The very language we speak contains biases that influence our thoughts on various matters. Dark means evil. Warm means friendly. Slow means stupid.
But that's getting a bit ridiculous. You're saying that from the moment I heard people talk, my mind was being controlled?
To a degree. Yes, but there was no conscious agenda. With those who hold power, there is. Their words are carefully chosen.
So which controls are put in place by the corporate government? How do I tell?
Follow the money. Are anti-terrorist laws there to protect you? Or stop dissent? Is a small country an enemy because it is a threat? Or is it because it is not allowing corporations access to its resources? Are environmentalists, tree-hugging hippies, or people concerned with conserving our natural resources? And for you personally, will buying a new gadget or luxury item really make you more happy? Is the sports team you follow so important that you devote what little leisure time you have to them? Is the girl you like someone you truly connect with, or someone who fits an ideal you already had?
There's a lot more to all this than I realized. I never really thought of mind control as being such an everyday thing. But they don't control the internet though, do they?
No, the nature of the internet makes these kind of control techniques much harder to use. But corporations do own the infrastructure of the internet, so ultimately, they hold the power. Do they control the internet? Not yet, no. But they are working on it.